Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph will begin Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. Omer Ravasi Isa Shel Meiser Sheni. If you have dough made out of Meiser Sheni, L'divrei Rav Meir Patur Min Achala, L'divrei Chacham Chayeves Bechala. There's a machlokes Rav Meir and Chachamim if Meiser Sheni is Mammon Gavoya or is it Mammon Hedget. Does it belong to you or is it considered Mammon Gavoya? Now, according to Rav Meir, who says it's Mammon Gavoya, it's not considered yours. You're not considered the owner. Therefore, it's palter from Chala. But according to the Chachamim, it's high b'Chala. So, we'll discuss this in greater detail shortly. Similarly, we have a machlokes matzahs shel meiser sheni. In a similar vein, if you have matzahs that are made of meiser sheni, the Rav Meir ein adam yotzei b'yadei chavasav b'Pesach. According to Rav Meir, you cannot be yotzei chayiv with that type of matzah. L'divrei chachamim yotzei b'yadei chavasav b'Pesach. According to Chachamim, you can. A similar machlokes is esrog shel meiser sheni. If you have an esrog that was from Meiser Sheni, L'divrei Meir ein yotzei b'yadei chavasav b'yantiv, L'divrei chacham adam yotzei b'yadei chavasav b'yantiv. Can you be yotzei the mitzvah of esrog lulav with that? So that's the same machlokes. So it seems to be machlokes in these three cases. If you say that Meiser Sheni is Mammon Gavoya, you can't be yotzei. If it's yours, if it's considered your money, your property, you could be yotzei. So no more analysis now. You can understand the din of challah by the case of dough. It says that you're mafish the challah from arisay sechem, your dough, mishalachem. So therefore it has to belong to you. So therefore, according to Rav Meir, that it's not yours, it's Mammon Gavoya, you're patur from challah. So it has to be mishalachem. And esrog nami di'osiv ulakachtem lachem. It says you take for you, for yourselves. B'yayim harishayin, you take the esrog lachem. So we darsen that lachem mishalachem. It has to belong to you. So if Meiser Sheni is Mammon Gavoya, it's not yours. Ela matzah miksiv matzaschem. But matzah doesn't say matzaschem. It doesn't say that it has to belong to you. So why should we apply that same machlokes by matzah? Amar Rava, he says, he says, also lechem. We learn out Gzeir Shava. We learn out Gzeir Shava from the din of Challah. Ksiv hacha lechem oini. It says by matzah. It says lechem oini, and it says Ksiv hacha. It says by Challah v'haya b'achlam lechem haaretz. And it says over there it says lechem b'achlachem mid lechem haaretz. Ma'alahalim mishalachem. Just like by Challah, we've established that it has to be yours because it says arisay sechem. So just like there, Malan Shmishalachem, Avkan, Mishalachem, the Gzeir Shava teaches you that by Matzah it also has to belong to you, so therefore the same machlokes will apply. Yomi Masechet, let's bring a rhyme from the following brisa, Isa Shel Meiser Sheni Patur Min Achala. The Isa Shel Meiser is Patur Min Achala, Divrei Meir. Chachamim Chayeves. Chacham say that it's Chayeves. So let's bring a rhyme to what we just said. Yomi Masechet wouldn't mean a rhyme. Hainu hach. That is what the exact same halacha that was mentioned before by Challah. So what do you mean Yomi Masechet? Hainu hach. Hachikama. Now what he means to say is as follows. What he means to say is that let us say that just like we have this machlokes by Isa l'gabi din of Challah, b'hanach nami pligi. Should we say also that the same machlokes applies to the case of Esrog? Or perhaps no, it applies by Challah because it says arisay sechem twice. But perhaps it doesn't apply by the case of Esrog, where it only says it once. So now the way the Tzlach explains Rashi, it's as follows. Rashi mentions that by the case of Esrog, he doesn't mention the case of Matzah. So therefore, he explains it as follows. That let us say that even if you hold, like Rav Meir, that Meiser Sheni is Mammon Gavoya, even if you say that it's Mammon Gavoya, but it doesn't mean that it's not yours at all. You still have the right to eat it. you're still able to eat it. So let us say as follows. Let us say it's only by challah where it says it twice. It says arisay seich arisim twice. It means once to say to exclude gzula, that it can't be stolen, it has to be yours, and you have to have the right to eat it. And the second time is to teach you that it has to be completely yours. It can't be ma'aser sheni, and it can't be ma'aser, which is mamon gavaya. By Esra, it only says lachem once, so therefore we only have one exclusion, and it's sufficient to say even if ma'aser sheni is mamon gavaya, but it's sufficiently yours as long as it's not stolen, that you have the right to eat it. Now, therefore, what we would say is, well, if that's the din by challah, and if matzah is learnat gzeira shava from challah, then the same din would apply to matzah. There'd be no difference between matzah and challah. There'd be the same din. And therefore, you'd say by matzah also it can't be ma'aser sheni because of the gzeira shava. So it's only the din of esrog, that we perhaps would have said this. So that's why we say le Messiah, perhaps it's the same as by esrog, or maybe not, or maybe it's not the same. So it comes out, however, that by matzah you can't be yaitza the chiyuv of matzah with matzah gzula. You certainly can't be the yaitza your chiyuv of the matzah gzula. And it's mashma that from here it's because it's a chasorin and that it's not yours. However, the Yerushalmi was mentioned because of mitzvah bo ba'avera. So Rav Chanan the Kovetz Shurim has a interesting discussion of this apparent discrepancy. Boy, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Ma'u sheyetze adam midei chayvasa b'chala shel ma'aser sheni b'Yerushalayim. The following shaila is that not only the matzah is not only from ma'aser sheni, but it's also chala. If there's a produce of a ma'aser sheni, and it was kneaded into dough, the mafresh chala, and now from that you made the matzah. Can you be yaitze? Can a kain be yaitze's chiyuv of matzah but the challah from ma'aser sheni? Now, the Gemara says the shaila is going to be only a liba de Rabbi Akiva, not Rabbi Yosi Aglili. We learned previously on Daf Lamed Vav the machlekes Rabbi Akiva and Yosi Aglili by ma'aser sheni, by matzah made out of ma'aser sheni, which differs from the hesber and the explanation of the machlekes that we just had previously according to the Chachamim. According to the Rav Yosi Aglili, he says you cannot be yaitze with ma'aser sheni because the patzah says lechem, and it means dafka lechem that's eaten by aninus, that an oinen can eat it. And ma'aser sheni cannot be eaten by an oinen. So according to Rav Yosi Aglili, then it's not a shaila, because even if it wasn't challah, if it was just ma'aser sheni alone, you cannot be yaitze with that, because matzah cannot be out of ma'aser sheni. It has to be only something that can be eaten by ninas. But Rabbi Akiva does not darshan it that way. He says the lechem oini is lechem she'oinim alav dvarim harbe. So there's no exclusion from ma'aser sheni. And he says that ma'aser sheni, you could be yaitze with matzah from ma'aser sheni, but you can't be yaitze with matzah from bikurim, because the pasuk says that b'chol ma'ishvei seichem. So matzahs has to be something that you can eat in all of your dwellings. Now, bikurim cannot be eaten out of Yerushalayim, so it's not b'chol ma'ishvei seichem. Mashein kain than ma'aser sheni, even though when the ma'aser sheni comes into Yerushalayim you can't take it out, but if it became tomei, you could be paid. So there's a possibility that you can eat b'chol ma'ishvei seichem. So according to Rabbi Akiva, you could be yaitze with matzah of ma'aser sheni. Now the question is, can you be yaitze if it's also challah? So the Gemara will speak out as follows. It's not a shayla according to Rabbi Yosi Aglili, because hashta b'chulin le'nafik, even if it wasn't challah, even if it was chulin, you can't be yaitze with the ma'aser sheni. Then b'chalosim yibaya, you certainly cannot be yaitze if it's also challah. But kiti boyalach, the question is according to Rabbi Akiva. Bechulin hu denafik, he says that Meiser Sheni, which is not challah, you can be yaitze. Why? Because it is shayach b'chol mashvei seichem. Because bechulin hu denafik the imetama yeshlam heter b'mayshava is because it became tome. You could be poited and outside of Yerushalayim, and therefore it's shayach to be outside of Yerushalayim b'chol mashvei. But if this is also now challah, but challah, it can't be. You can't, because it can't be redeemed. You can't be pointed. Challah that became tomei has to be burnt. So loinofik. So therefore, it's not shayach b'chol meishavas. It's not shayach b'chol meishavas. So therefore, perhaps you cannot be yaitze with the matzah if it's meiser sheni and also challah. Or Dilma, perhaps he would say, no, Dilma Amrinan, Hoyel v'iloi korla shem v'itame. But just like you say by Meiser Sheni, it's shayach b'chol ma'aseh sechem, because if it would become tomei, you could be eaten elsewhere. So the b'chol ma'aseh sechem doesn't necessarily mean that this has to be eaten b'chol ma'aseh sechem. It means in general terms that the matzah, this type of matzah, could be eaten anywhere. So here also, if this was not called challah, if you were not mafresh challah and became tomei, so if this wouldn't been challah, if you hadn't made this challah, you could have been yaitza. So here, even though you did make it challah, but theoretically there was a potential that this could have been eaten b'chol ma'aseh, so it's sufficient. That's the shaila. Ikadamri, some say it's false, who ask the question is false. This is not a shaila. The vare amrin and hoil, because we do say hoil. And therefore, we say hoil, if you were not koresh shame on it, then it would be, if you're not koresh shame on a chal, you could eat b'chol ma'aseh seichem, that's sufficient. So what's the shaila? Kiti voila chala halokuach bekesef meiser sheni. If it's chala that was purchased with the mois of meiser sheni, meaning there was meiser sheni, the person redeemed the meiser sheni for mois. It was too difficult to take up Yerushalayim. He redeemed it for money. Now, the money is supposed to be taken and purchased for food in Yerushalayim. Then what he did was, the Kayan used that money and he purchased challah with that money. So now, this was original meiser sheni, you redeemed it on money, and now it's challah. So now the Rabbanan said, well, just like you could be pointed the mois meiser sheni, the food that's purchased with the money of meiser sheni, you can also be pointed. So then it's not a shayla. Keva and damre yipodet, they say you can be pointed. So therefore, it's shayach b'chol ma'aseh seichem. So there's no difference between this and the previous version of the shayla. But kiti boilach alei b'Rav Yehuda damre kaver b'kader, according to Rav Yehuda, he says no, you can be pointed meiser sheni on mois, but once you use that money to buy food, therefore now it's been diminished, the kedusha has been diminished, you cannot further be pointed anymore. You're not able to transfer it any further to something else, so you can't be pointed. So therefore, he says Yikover Disnan halakuach because of meiser sheni shenitma, that which was purchased with the mois of meiser sheni. Meiser sheni, you redeemed it on money, and then you purchased something with that shenitma became tomei. You put it. The Chachamim hold you can be paid, just like the meiser sheni itself that became tomei, you can be paid. But Rav Yehuda Omer Yikover. Rav Yehuda says no, you can't. Yikover. The kedusha of meiser sheni is strong enough that you can be paid. You can be paid the meiser sheni, and you can be paid onto money. If it became tom, you can be paid about that which was lekuach with the kes of meiser sheni. So there was already a redemption, and now it was purchased. So to have a further redemption, it's not strong enough. The kedusha is not strong enough to allow a further redemption. So therefore, Rav Yehuda says he covered. So now, according to Rav Yehuda, you have the shaila. Mi amrin and hoil vi loy lekuach. Do you say if it had not been purchased with kes meiser sheni? Then you say v'hoil v'loy korla shem v'itme. If he was not koresh shem of chal, and it became tummy, you could be pointed. So therefore we say, well, even if he was Karas Shem Chala, he could also be Paida. Yesh lo heter b'Moishavos v'nafik bey. We treat it like it has a heter b'Moishavos. It could be eaten in all your dwellings, and therefore it's kosher for matzah. And you can be Yaitze. Hashta nami nafik bey. Now here also, even though he was Karas Shem Chala, then he can also be Yaitze with it. And perhaps no, Chad Hoyle Amrina, Trey Hoyle Loy Amrina. Perhaps we only say one Hoyle, not two Hoyles. We can say one Hoyle that if it became Tome, you can be paided, but to say two Hoyles that Hoyle that he could be in now if it became Tome, he can paid, and a Hoyle if he was not Kair Shem Chala, two Hoyles we don't say perhaps. And therefore, it's not eligible. You can't view it as something that's nechal b'chol mashaves. Omer Rava mistabra shem meiser chadhu. Rava says to mistabra that the shem meiser, it's one meiser. It's all called meiser. So therefore, if it was original meiser, and we're saying it was original meiser, that you could be yaitz even though it's chala. But we say hoyel, that if it wasn't chala, it became Talmud, you can be paided. It's b'chol masechet, you can eat it in all of your dwellings, even in a case where it's something which is purchased through the kesef of Meiser Sheni. We would say the same thing because it's all called Meiser. It's all in the category of Meiser Sheni. Rashi asks the kasha, well, even if it's not lakuach b'kesef Meiser Sheni, why isn't it still two hoyels? We're saying, well, hoyel, that if it became Tomei, and hoyel if you weren't Kair Shem Chala, so if it was not Chala, and if it became Tomei, hoyel that if it wasn't Chala, and hoyel that if it became Tomei, you could be paided and eat it outside of your shalayim. So here also, even though it's not Tomei, we can also say it's also in the category of a whole much segment. Doesn't that also rely on two hoyels? Why is the shaila only by its kesef lakuach b'meiser sheni? Even if it's not, even if it's the original meiser, doesn't rely and rest on two hoyels? Rashi answered no, because the tome, becoming tome, is biyotcha. You have the ability to do that. So that's not considered hoyel. Since you can make a tome, we consider that it's not just theoretically. You can actually do this, and therefore you can be paided. So it's not in the category of hoyel. It's only in the case where it's lakuch b'kesef meiser sheni, and it's chala. That hoyel, that if it wouldn't be chala, and hoyel if it wouldn't be lakuach, that's considered theoretical, and that we have the shala. But nevertheless, we say Rava says mistaber that you could be yaitze.